My mother is a woman of a certain age, and she has health issues. Back to December of 2005, she got very sick, and she thought she was having a heart attack. Called me at 3 o'clock in the morning. We go into the hospital, and they start doing all the tests on her, which they have to do, and all hysteria breaks loose. My mother is in sepsis. Oh my God, her gallbladder has ruptured, and she would have been dead within another 24 hours. What they discovered when they did the MRI was that the gallbladder was so heavy that it had caused damage to the bile ducts and had torn them and crushed them. And the only way of doing this was to open her up, take out this gallbladder, take a section of her intestine, and rebuild the bile ducts. This is a 12-hour operation, to say the very least, and the surgery was scheduled to be done by Dr. Sharif Hanna, the head of one of the surgical teams. He had reviewed the MRI that had been done by Toronto General, and he showed it to me. I looked at it with him, and it was full of ruptures and tears. Sunnybrook did another MRI, full of ruptures and tears. You could see 2 separate MRIs, 2 separate labs making, techs doing these MRIs. So the surgery was scheduled for, I think, the 26th of September. Monique had arranged for me to meet the prelate of Opus Dei on the 25th. And he started by saying that your mother will be fine. Opus Dei, 85,000 people are praying for your mother. My mother had been given a 30% chance of not getting off the operating table. 7 o'clock in the morning, she's parked outside her operating room. Who walks by at 8 o'clock in the morning but Dr. Hanna? And he says, Dagmar, wait a moment. I have to go and see your mother. I will be right back. Goes off and sees my mother, comes back, and pulls me over. We sit down in a quiet corner, and he says, I am a devout Christian, and this morning I had a premonition. I had a premonition that everything would be absolutely fine. At 10 to 12, my phone rings, and it was Dr. Hanna. And he said, Dagmar, couldn't believe it. I took out the gallbladder, I looked, and there were the bile ducts in her liver. They were fine. I did an x-ray to look for holes. I couldn't find any. So I did a fluoroscopy, which shows in far more detail. I couldn't find anything. All I did was sew her up. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. 2 weeks later, she's at a checkup with Dr. Hanna, and I said, okay, I'm going to ask the question. Dr. Hanna, with everything that happened with my mother, do you think this was a miracle? Now we're talking about one of the top surgeons in Toronto, and he looked me dead in the eye. Yes.